The sky over Los Angeles was its usual bright blue, clear and rich like a painting. It was one of those days when everything looked perfect from the outside. The streets were alive with people chasing dreams, actors rushing to auditions, writers mumbling to themselves with coffee in hand, and cameras rolling on sidewalks hoping to catch the next viral moment. Liam Knight sat alone at a corner table of a quiet cafe in West Hollywood. A laptop in front of him, black coffee to his right, and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. No one recognized him. No one bothered him. That's how he liked it. To the world, Liam was just another quiet guy in a plain t-shirt, but in reality, he was one of the youngest billionaires in the country. He had founded Nextlink, a global streaming platform. At just 23, it revolutionized the way independent films were funded and distributed. Hollywood owed half its new life to him, and yet, no one knew what he looked like. He had kept his identity private, letting others be the face of his company. He preferred being invisible. Until he met her. Emily Monroe. It was that same cafe. 2 years ago. She was standing in line in front of him, arguing with the barista about a drink she couldn't afford. She looked tired, frustrated, and completely lost. Something about the fire in her voice and the defeat in her eyes made Liam speak up. "I'll get it," he said simply. She turned surprised. "You don't have to." "I know," he replied, "but I want to." That was the beginning. First encounter, the chemistry builds. They sat together after that. Talked. She was an aspiring actress, working 3 jobs, barely affording rent. Her last audition had gone badly, and her agent stopped returning her calls. But her eyes, those hazel eyes, were full of dreams. She wasn't broken yet. Just bent. He told her he worked at a small studio. He didn't lie. He just didn't tell the whole truth. He said his name was Liam Cole. Just Liam. Just a studio manager. Nothing more. She laughed at his dry humor. He loved the way her face lit up when she smiled. She loved the way he listened when she spoke. They met again and again. She never Googled him. Never asked about money. At first she said she liked simple people with depth, not dollars. Liam thought she was different. He let her in. Slowly he showed her his favorite secret spots in LA. Sunset, cliffs, old bookstores, empty studio lots after dark. He watched her fall in love with the city, and slowly, she made space in his life. Emily's struggle and Liam's silent support for the first few months. Emily stayed focused. She worked hard, took acting classes, cried when she failed, but tried again. Liam supported her quietly, paid for a class without telling her, pulled strings for her to get background roles anonymously. She got her first speaking line 6 months later. Liam celebrated like it was an Oscar. But then something changed. A famous producer noticed her at a rap party. He offered her a role in a bigger film. Said she had presence. Liam was proud. She started getting noticed. Red carpet photos. Invitations to influencer parties. Brand deals. Suddenly, his texts started getting delayed replies. She stopped meeting him as often. She said she was busy. Liam understood. Or tried to. Things start shifting. A year passed. Emily was now known. Not A-list, but rising. Talk shows began calling her Hollywood's next sweetheart. She still called Liam, still laughed at his jokes, but it wasn't the same. She stopped holding his hand in public. Started showing up at events with co-stars. When Liam asked her about it, she waved it off. "It's just PR, babe. You know how this works. You of all people should understand." He nodded, but his heart sank. He wanted to tell her everything. That he wasn't some small-time manager. That Nextlink was his creation. That all her films were distributed on his platform. That the agents calling her were doing so because he made a silent phone call behind the scenes. But he didn't. He wanted to see if she loved the man or the myth. Cracks deepen. Betrayal begins one night. She didn't come home. Liam waited till 2 a.m. She didn't text, didn't call. Next morning, paparazzi photos flooded the internet. Emily, drunk, laughing, arms around Ryan Chase, the industry's hottest actor. They looked close. The tabloid said, "Too close." When Liam asked, she said nothing. Just walked into the bathroom. That was the moment something broke. He didn't cry. He just stared at the door, his hands cold, his mind silent. The parting, and the seed of return. A week later, she ended it. "You're sweet, Liam, but we come from different worlds. You wouldn't understand what I need." He said nothing, just smiled and whispered, "You'll understand one day." As she packed her bags, she didn't even look back. But Liam did. He watched her leave, and then turned to his screen, opened his calendar, and called his board. Prepared to acquire Monroe Media Group. His voice was steady. His heart was steel. Because the girl who used him for fame, was about to learn who she used. Liam had always believed in playing the long game. He didn't scream. He didn't beg. He didn't chase after Emily. He let her go, and that was his power. But behind the calm eyes, something had shifted. She thought she had left a quiet nobody. She had no idea that the man she discarded was quietly planning her professional future. The very next morning, Liam flew to New York. He met with his board at Nextlink and acquired a 45% stake in Monroe Media Group, the firm that handled everything. From Emily's film promotions to her digital branding, the name was ironic, Monroe Media. Her last name, she wasn't the owner, just the face. Now, Liam controlled what that face could and could not do. He didn't want revenge. He wanted truth to speak louder than PR. Meanwhile, Emily's fame explodes. Emily was now everywhere. Magazine covers, red carpets, brand launches. Her name was on lips across the country. She had officially gone public with Ryan Chase. They looked like Hollywood royalty, but Liam watched it all from behind the screen. Silently, he approved which photo shoots made it to the press. Silently, he rejected scripts that didn't suit her image. Silently, he shaped her career. Emily thought she was finally free. She didn't know she was dancing on the strings of the man she threw away. Liam starts. Building more control, Liam began acquiring smaller firms connected to Emily's rising fame, a talent agency, a social media analytics startup, a content syndication network. Every time Emily signed a new deal, his signature was hidden somewhere in the contract. One day, he even visited the set of her next movie, anonymously. He watched from behind the monitors as she acted out a romantic scene with Ryan. He didn't flinch. He just made notes and left. Emily's cracks began to show as months passed. The glamour began to wear off for Emily. Ryan Chase was arrogant, controlling. He didn't care about her past or her feelings. He cared about headlines. She missed the quiet nights with Liam, the way he made tea when she was tired, the way he looked at her like she was enough, but she never called. Her pride wouldn't let her. Until one night, her biggest scandal broke. Leaked audio. Ryan shouting at her backstage, pushing her, calling her fake. The internet exploded. Fans turned against them. Brands started pulling away. Her film's box office numbers dropped, and suddenly, she was no longer Hollywood's sweetheart. The silent protector returns. What no one knew was that the leaked audio, Liam had it weeks ago. He just waited. He didn't leak it. Someone on the set did, but he allowed it to circulate, because truth doesn't need help, just a little time. While the world watched Emily fall, Liam made one last move. He bought full controlling shares in Monroe Media Group. Now, she officially worked for him. Still unaware, Emily sat alone in her luxury condo, staring at her silent phone. For the first time in a year, there were no new notifications, no calls from producers, no invites to premieres. Just silence. That was strange. The world that once begged for her attention was now turning away. The fans had moved on. The tabloids were bored. Even Ryan Chase had distanced himself, leaving only a cold text. This isn't working. I need to focus on my career. The irony burned. The very fame she chased, the one she chose over love, was now slipping through her fingers. Meanwhile, at the top floor of a quiet glass tower, Liam stood before a wall of screens. One showed Emily's social feed. Another displayed analytics. One more streamed industry news. Engagement dropped another 12% this week, his assistant said. Liam didn't blink. Let it fall. He wasn't angry. He wasn't vengeful. He was simply letting her face the mirror, the one she avoided for so long. Emily's unraveling. With nowhere else to turn, Emily did the one thing she swore she never would. She visited her old acting coach, someone she had abandoned once fame arrived. Fame gave you a spotlight, the coach said, but you forgot how to perform under it. She started attending workshops again, quietly, without makeup, in baggy clothes. No one recognized her. She was learning to be a student again. But humility wasn't easy. One night, she sat outside the studio after class and saw Liam's face on a magazine cover, not as a boyfriend or mystery man, but as the new CEO of Monroe Media Group. Her hands trembled. Liam owns it, she whispered. The truth hit her like ice. He had been there all along, silently watching. The confrontation. She showed up at his office the next morning. The receptionist tried to stop her, but Liam told them to let her in. She walked in slowly, unsure, defensive. He stood by the window, overlooking the city. Why? She asked, tears in her voice. He turned calmly. Why? What? Why did you let me fall? Liam didn't speak for a moment. Then, because you never saw me when I was right beside you. You only looked when I was gone. She stepped closer. I was stupid. I know that now. I let ambition blind me. I thought I needed more. He nodded. And now, she looked down. Now I realize I already had everything. The offer. Liam walked to his desk, picked up a file, and handed it to her. It was a contract, releasing her from Monroe Media. Freeing her completely. You're not a prisoner, he said. Go build your life. On your own terms. She hesitated. You don't want me to stay. He looked her in the eye. This was never about keeping you. It was about helping you see who you are, without the lights. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She signed the paper. And walked out. The beginning of a new path. Months later, Emily returned to the screen, not in a blockbuster, but in a small indie film. One that Liam funded anonymously. She played a woman who loses everything and finds herself again. Critics praised her performance. Audiences cried, and she smiled quietly in the back row of a small theater. Because this time, it wasn't for fame. It was real. And somewhere far away, Liam watched. And smiled too. The world knew Liam Knight as a genius. Investors called him the future. Magazines ranked him as one of the top most powerful minds in media. But when the lights went off and the meetings ended, he still thought about her. Not the actress, not the influencer, but the girl in the cafe. The one who smiled when he bought her coffee. The one who laughed without cameras. The one who held his hand like it meant something. No power could buy that version of her back. And Liam knew it. Emily's growth meanwhile, Emily was slowly becoming someone new. She volunteered at local theaters, worked backstage, wrote scripts. She studied storytelling, not for fame, but for the craft. No one recognized her on the subway anymore. And strangely, she liked it. The more she lost the spotlight, the more she found herself. One day, she got a call from a producer. Not a blockbuster offer, but a meaningful one. A film about healing. A story about forgiveness. She accepted it without hesitation. The script made her cry. Not because of the character, but because it mirrored her. The foundation, Liam, on the other hand, began pouring money into education and arts. He founded a non-profit that funded indie films, especially for first-time directors and underrepresented voices. He never used his name publicly. He just signed as LK. His company grew bigger than ever, but he never forgot where he started and who started it all with him. A chance encounter, one rainy afternoon. In a small bookstore near downtown LA, they crossed paths. No red carpets, no cameras, just 2 umbrellas and the smell of old paper. They froze. "Emily," he said, voice soft. She turned slowly. Liam, for a moment, it was awkward. But then they laughed. The kind of laugh only people with a shared past can share. They walked for hours, talked about everything and nothing, no accusations, no apologies. Just honesty. The question before they parted ways, she asked, "Do you ever wish we could go back?" He paused. Double quotes, "No. I think we were meant to break so we could rebuild." She nodded, tears in her eyes, but a smile too. "Thank you for not stopping me. I had to lose everything to find who I am." Liam smiled, "And I had to lose you to find what really matters." Separate, but whole, they didn't walk away hand in hand. They didn't restart a relationship. They simply said goodbye. A real goodbye. With peace. Liam stood at the corner, watching her fade into the street, and for the first time in years, he felt light. He had power, wealth, influence, but now he also had something more. Closure. 2 years had passed. Los Angeles had changed. Not in appearance, but in how it felt. To Liam, it no longer felt like the battlefield, where he had to prove himself or where love had betrayed him. It felt like home, and that, in itself, was the legacy he never expected to build. The Liam Knight Foundation, by now, the LK Foundation had funded over 200 short films. Most of them came from small towns and unknown names. Some went on to win international awards. When journalists asked who was behind the generous anonymous backing, Liam simply smiled and said, "Good stories deserve good chances." He still ran Nextlink, but he had stepped away from the spotlight. Instead, he focused on mentorship, reading scripts, coaching young directors. The empire he built no longer felt like a monument to his pain. It had become a garden where others could bloom. Emily's redemption arc, Emily's indie film, Silent Winter, received critical acclaim, not because of fame, not because of press, but because her performance touched hearts. She was raw, honest, human, and she didn't run from her past. In interviews, she openly spoke of her mistakes. "Fame taught me what I was, losing it taught me who I am." She launched a podcast about navigating fame, failure, and forgiveness. Young actresses thanked her. Some cried during interviews. For the first time, Emily wasn't being watched. She was being heard. Their final meeting had happened at an award ceremony, one neither of them expected to attend. She was there to present. He was there to honor a young filmmaker. Their eyes met across the ballroom, and they both smiled. This time, there was no tension, no sadness, just mutual respect. After the ceremony, they met on the balcony. "I saw your speech," she said. "I heard your podcast." He replied. A beat passed. Then, "I think we both turned out all right." She nodded. "Maybe we were never meant to end up together. Just meant to start something in each other." They clinked glasses, and for the first time, their story felt complete. The final message months later, a book appeared on Liam's desk. It was titled The Girl in the Calf. Inside the cover, "To the man who let me fall and helped me rise without even trying. Emily." He closed the book gently, looked out the window at the city skyline, and whispered, "We both left something behind, but what we built will last." Because in the end, it wasn't the betrayal that defined them. It was what they did with the broken pieces. And that was the legacy they left.